Over the past couple of days, as I've been editing my most recent video, I keep hearing a noise as if something is running across the roof of my cabin, mainly at night, and I cannot for the life of me imagine what it could be that would be running across the roof. I mean, yeah, I don't know how anything would get up there unless it's a bird, and it's not a bird because, again, it's at night, but I just figured out what it is. It was an ermine. I have no idea how that ermine is getting into the cabin. But here you can see there's an opening in the insulation. Here you can see the insulation pressed up against the plastic, but right here there isn't any, and that's where I saw him. It sounds like he was running along the top of this beam when I told him to get out of here, but that's not even possible because of the way the joists are situated. I have joists. I don't really have trusses in my cabin. Nonetheless, I've been in contact with my roofer and asked for a quote on soffits. If you recall, a few months back, I had an issue with the ermine coming into the cabin through the bird screening and mice also coming into the cabin. I haven't really seen any more mice in the cabin, which is good. Not any in the cellar at all, which I'm very, very happy about. And I haven't seen any in the soon-to-be bathroom either. So with that being said, let me show you some other things that are going on around the cabin. So first things first, let's head outside because I've got some firewood I need to get stacked. I finally got some dry firewood delivered. Here it is, the middle of January, and I'm very grateful to have received this. When I came out to Alaska, my intention was to do everything myself. When I came out to Alaska, I thought I'm going to be a hermit, just doing my own thing out here, not really having much involvement with anybody else, going into town twice a year, and just keeping to myself, essentially. I knew that I was going to have work done on the cabin, which I did. And because of that, you know, I've made a friend out of the contractor who did my roof. And then I've met other people in the surrounding communities, which have also helped me out tremendously over the past year. But the point about what I'm making is that even though I came out to Alaska to live by myself, without the help of others in the area, I don't know that I would be as successful here in my endeavors if it wasn't for reaching out for help, whether it's from a contractor or, you know, someone who lives miles away down the road or someone who lives in a neighboring community. I would love to say that I could do everything here by myself, but there are just some things that I have to rely on others for. And this dry firewood is just one of those things. Now, granted, I could go off into the woods and I could buck up trees myself and haul them out, except for the fact that I don't have a snow machine. I don't have a snow dog or anything like that that I can use to pull the logs out of the woods. Could I do it in the summertime? Yes, I could. I definitely could do that. And maybe that's what I'll do going forward, because the gentleman who I've been buying my firewood from, unfortunately, wasn't able to get me seasoned firewood over the last few years. And I'm not really enjoying not being able to burn the birch. Luckily, some of my friends in the community got me in contact with somebody who was able to deliver me a cord of some seasoned spruce. This spruce came from dead standing trees. It's all been bucked up, some of it split just so it'll fit inside of the wood box of my stove. But I'm very thankful for this because right now the temperatures are pretty low outside. We really haven't gotten much more snow. I think right now there's a foot and a half of snow on the ground. So it's not that bad out here right now. But I wanted to just, you know, say thank you to my friends that got me in contact with the gentleman who's delivering wood. But I also wanted to say that it takes more than yourself when you're living alone to survive out here. I often get questions about, are you really alone out there at your property? And yeah, I'm really out here by myself. If there was somebody else out here, they better have had this wood stacked already. If there was somebody else out here, they should be the one to dump the water buckets. They should be the one to haul in water. They should be the one to plow the driveway or shovel a path where need be. All sorts of things that need to be done out here on the property would be done by somebody else, or at least help me with those things if there was somebody here. But there's nobody here but me, well, except for Kenai, who happens to be in the cabin right now because it's so cold outside. So that leaves me to get all of this firewood stacked. But you know, it's funny because when I thought about moving out to Alaska and living this lifestyle alone, I basically imagined that I would be living my version of the Dick Proenneke adventure, right? In my mind, I had Dick Proenneke built up to this individual who lived basically like a hermit, going out doing his own videography and journaling, but not really having much involvement with the outside world. And that's not necessarily true either, as was mentioned in a 1977 documentary regarding his life. Due to copyright reasons, I'm not able to actually share any of the documentary with you, but I can paraphrase what it said in there, which was that Dick Proenneke generally went about 6 weeks on average, sometimes longer, but only about a month and a half between either receiving visitors at his place or leaving his property to go visit somebody else. Dick Proenneke had visitors all the time, from those that were making mail runs or resupply runs to him via float plane year-round. Also, the Allsworth, there's a place in Alaska called Point Allsworth. The Allsworth family had befriended Dick Proenneke when he first moved to Alaska, and he would spend time at their property. They would spend time at his. Former Governor Hammond had befriended Dick Proenneke and would spend time out with Dick at his cabin, as well as the Park Service, as the Park Service began to move in. So even though we tend to idolize somebody and think that they're, you know, completely independent and doing all these amazing things by themselves, they still have a community helping them out. Over the past week, it's been, or a few weeks actually, it's been below zero, down as low as -35, I think, daytime temps. So at night, even lower than that. It's about -15 out here right now. This week, I think the lowest we're supposed to get is -22. I know you guys are probably thinking you're crazy being out there without a face covering on or a jacket on. But I'm working, so I'm staying warm. I'm not cold in the slightest being out here right now. So as I'd mentioned about me coming out here and thinking that I was going to be 100% independent, me having idolized Dick Proenneke and thinking that he was, you know, vastly independent as well. It does take a community to survive out here. It does. You cannot necessarily do everything on your own. Everybody is going to have to reach out for help somewhere along the line. In fact, I was watching 1968 Alaskan Sourdough the other day, and he's been here 55 years. He's living the lifestyle, and he can tell you it's not as easy as I might make it sound like it is sometimes. And you know, it's not that life isn't easy here for me, but it's because I've crafted it that way. I make calculated decisions to make my life as easy on me as I can. But like I said, there are times where I need to reach out for help. And in one of his more recent videos, 1968 Alaskan Sourdough, I'll leave a link to his channel below, he also talked about how life is not necessarily easy out here, and sometimes you have no choice but to reach out for help. So if you want to see an individual who is, you know, been in Alaska for a long time, 55 years for him at this point, who's living the lifestyle, walking the walk and talking the talk at the same time, you know, he is doing it all, then check out his channel. If you like John in Alaska, I'm pretty sure you'll like 1968 Alaskan Sourdough as well. Like I said, I'll leave a link to his channel below, but he is, you know, somebody who, like I said, is living the life, and yet he still has to rely on others as well. So because there's nobody here to rely on for me, I need to get back to stacking this wood because it is getting a little cold standing here, even though the sun is directly on me. In fact, I can show you as I'm trying to keep the shadow of the camera off of me. But I had some questions that I wanted to answer, so I'm going to walk over here and just show you something that I got a couple questions on. And then after I get this stacked up, I'll take you inside, and I want to touch base regarding my last video because there were some important details that I happened to leave out. I also received a question regarding the plywood that you see here, and why wasn't my window boarded up? Well, the window's not actually boarded up. The plywood is actually just leaning against the window so that as I stacked my firewood in front of it, I didn't actually hit the glass and break the window because the windows are very expensive to replace. That window would be around $4 grand to replace. And the window sits very low. It's about 2 feet off the ground is where the bottom of the window is. And I needed to stack the wood at least 4 high. So plywood's just stacked there. And again, this is just part of the 12 cords of firewood that I had originally ordered. Someone had asked, where's all my big firewood? Well, part of it's here, part of it's in front of the bunkhouse, and the rest of it is in the woodshed. But because this was delivered wet, essentially, it was only 1 year cut. It hadn't fully dried out. It's not seasoned. That's why I got the spruce wood. Thank goodness for that. But speaking of spruce, I need to get back to it because as you can see by the thermometer just over my shoulder, it's actually about -20 out here. I thought it was -15, but it's actually colder than I thought. And if I don't get moving, I'm going to start to feel that cold. So right now I'm good, but I got to get back to work. In my last video, I talked about turning this room into my future bathroom. But what I neglected to talk about was the wood stove that I plan on putting in this corner right here behind me. I mentioned putting it in, but I didn't talk about why I'm putting it in. Because as I showed in the last video, I have a propane heater in this room. Propane heaters typically do not take electricity, so the wood stove would not be in the event of a power outage. It would actually be how I plan on heating the water for my bathtub. So I could either do it like I do now, where I have a big pot of water that sits on top of my wood stove and I heat it with the flame from the stove. Or I might actually wrap copper tubing around the chimney and have that then in the tub itself, so it circulates the water through the tub and keeps the water hot that way. Or what I could do is use a copper coil inside of a pot, much like a wort chiller that would be used in brewing, or a whiskey still, a copper whiskey still set on top of the wood stove that is then plumbed to the clawfoot tub. So that is why the wood stove. I just neglected to mention it. And then the question came up about how would I drain the copper tub? Well, I drain it just like I do now, which is to bucket the water out of the tub. Because I plan on installing a clawfoot tub, I could then install on the bottom of it where the drain is a ball valve system like this and attach a hose to the end of the ball valve. And when I turn the spigot, it would then allow water to come out through here, which I could then drain out in front of the cabin. Regarding this pot that is sitting on top of the wood stove, this is actually a deep fryer that I got at Bass Pro. It actually has 2 deep fry baskets that sit inside of here, and a lid that goes over it, of course, and it's meant to sit on top of a gas burner. The gas burner I actually gave away because I don't need it. But I can actually open this spigot up here and pour water directly out of it. To be honest with you, I don't use the spigot. I still just take the lid off, and then I just use this bucket, which is actually just a mixing bowl from a stand mixer, and then I just bucket the water out to fill up my containers to do my dishes. If you're wondering why my kitchen counter is covered in towels, it is also covered in black plastic, and that's because I'm in the process of finishing this countertop out. I'm using 100% tung oil to do it, and it needs proper time to dry between coats, and it takes multiple coats to get it to its completed stage. So in the meantime, I'm doing everything I can to protect the wood underneath these towels and the plastic here. So hence why all the towels. But also taking time to get things done. Let's talk about some of the other questions people have had about projects that I've mentioned in the cabin. Not so long ago, I did a video about replacing the railings in the loft. And a question came up about, why don't I start with the ceiling and work my way down, considering that the ceiling and the railings intersect at one point? And they said, wouldn't it be easier to do that way? Also, the walls and the railings are going to intersect in a different area of the cabin. And yes, I do agree that doing that would make more sense in some aspects. However, in order to do the ceiling and the walls in the cabin, let me show you how I'm going to finish that out, because drywall is not an option in this cabin. So instead, what I'm going to be using is some cedar plank. It's going to take pallets of cedar planks. As I mentioned, I'll be refinishing the walls in the cabin, both on the main floor and in the loft, with cedar planks, and the ceiling's going to get the same treatment. I don't have a way of transporting those pallets worth of cedar planks, and there really isn't a good option of getting those transported out to my property. Not only that, but there is also the issue of I'm going to need to get some scaffolding. So just behind me is the living room, and from there to the ceiling, I can't reach that, and I would need more than a ladder to do it safely, because I plan on doing that all by myself. So I also need to purchase a planer. So what I'm getting to is that it's going to require not only a way to transport things, but it's going to require it's going to require me to acquire the materials to do the job. And I'm trying to work on things that I can get done myself quickly. And unfortunately, I'm not even able to do the railings just yet, nor the stairs. Someone had asked, how about the stairs? Are the stairs done yet? No, the stairs are not done yet either. The stairs are not done for a couple of reasons. One is, again, because I need to acquire materials. So I need to acquire some 6x6s, 4x4s, the cedar plank, and I also need to figure out how I'm going to prevent those stairs from being so slick in the future. Now, someone said, why would you be sanding the stairs? You don't want to make them smooth. Now, I'm not planning on sanding down the stairs to make them smoother, but I do need to refinish them, as you can see by this area right here, and along the edges going all the way down. Not only that, but these boards, especially the ones that I just put in, are prone to splintering. And in order to avoid getting a splinter, I would like to sand the stairs. Now, I've been looking at tread cover options, trying to figure out ways where I can make those treads less slippery, and also looking at maybe putting on a nose guard on the treads. I don't really know what they're called, but it would be something that has a little bit of a ridge to it so that my foot would catch on that as opposed to sliding over it and allowing me to slide down the stairs as I've done it previously. Now, there's another issue with that. Where I live in Alaska, I'm closer to the Canadian border than I am to Anchorage or to Fairbanks. A trip into town usually is between 4 to 5 hours one way. In the wintertime, I don't really want to make that trek because the roads are icy, they're slippery, and as I said, I don't really have a way of transporting that much material out to my property at this moment. And getting someone else to agree to trailer materials in the wintertime is not an easy thing to do, because they don't want to take their trailer into town either unless they have to during the winter months. So another thing is that getting somebody out here to do the work for me is almost impossible as well. And there might be some things here that I'm going to need some assistance with, such as building the balcony off the back of my cabin. That is something I probably cannot do myself, and so I'm going to need to hire somebody to do that. And what I've found is, because of where I live and the fact that it is so sparsely populated in comparison to other areas of Alaska, the area where I live is roughly the same size footprint as the Mat-Su Valley and Anchorage combined, which are the most populated areas in Alaska. So roughly same size footprint, but with less than 1% of the population in the area in which I live, which is the Copper River Basin. Even Tok, which is just as remotely located, has roughly half the population of the Copper River Basin, but is 187 times smaller of a footprint than the area in which I live. So there's only about 2,600 individuals in this area as of the 2020 census. Now that's the best I could find when looking online. There's almost 400,000 people in Anchorage and the Mat-Su Valley. So it's hard to find someone to come out here. It's hard to find someone in this area to do the work who is either capable or willing to do the work. And that has posed a problem as well. However, going back to driving in the wintertime, as I mentioned, I don't typically like to drive in the wintertime. My plan was always to only head into town in the warmer months of the year, spring and fall. You know, I've done more sightseeing this last year than I ever did before, which I'm very thankful that I got to do, and I would love to do more, especially, you know, now that I'm a resident and I can go hunting and fishing and things like that. That is definitely on my agenda to do. However, the reason I don't do it is because the roads are typically very icy. There's no guardrails, as I mentioned previously, and there's no center dividers. And so it's a bit sketchy driving on the roads here. And it's not that I'm worried about my driving necessarily. It's more that you don't know what you're going to run into on your way out of town. You also don't know if there's going to be a moose that's going to jump out in front of you, or if there's going to be a semi that is going to, you know, lose control and slam into you, which could happen anywhere. I get that. But if I don't have to leave the property, typically I'm not going to. However, the other day, the power was out here, and so I decided to take advantage of that, and I went up to the post office and got some of my mail. And so I'd like to share some of that with you because there were some things in there from people, and I want to say thank you for those of you who sent some stuff in recently. Now, I only received a handful of items in my P.O. box, and I mentioned previously that while I typically have been closing my P.O. box down technically during the winter months, this year I decided that if you want to send me something, that's fine. Just give me advance notice that something's on its way, the date you shipped it, or tracking if you can provide it. That way I know to be on the lookout for it, because otherwise, if it sits at the P.O. box longer than 2 weeks, they'll ship it back to you, and I would hate for that to happen. But the items that I received were small items, and so they were just in my P.O. box, luckily for me. But I received a cute little Christmas card from my aunt and uncle, and then I received a beautiful Christmas card as well from Arlen, AFJ the third. So thank you for this, Arlen. Thank you for this. Very much appreciated, and the lovely note that was included. And then on top of that, I received a gift from the Emerald Shadow, Pat and Linda, parents of Philly Captain. So thank you for that. What I received was this rope pulley, which is exactly something that I needed. So thank you very much for this. This will help me when I need to hoist something down from the loft, as I've talked about many, many times before. So appreciate this. And then one other thing that I received from somebody who was anonymously sent this in, I received some motion sensor LED light strips, and I'm assuming that these were sent in for my stairs. So again, very much appreciated. I think these are going to come in handy, and I believe that these actually have an outlet that these actually plug in. I don't believe they're battery operated. So thank you for this. This is also going to come in very handy, whoever you are. But then I purchased something for Kenai. I was hoping he was going to be in the shop, but I'll get these on him and get him outside so you can see. But I bought him a set of booties for his feet and a puffer jacket, a little fleece lined jacket for him. Because with it being so cold outside, if he's outside for very long, his feet are just freezing and he's lifting them up off the ice and the snow. So I'm going to put these on him and take him outside and let you see all the antics that ensue. Go on. Buddy. Come here. I don't know why I got him the coat and the booties when this is what he does when he comes outside, is he rolls in the snow, right? Go that way. Let's go. That's all he does. Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Am I talking to you? Are you getting yourself caught up in your leash? Come this way. At least he walks in them well. He doesn't have, you know, the donkey kicks going on in those booties. Doesn't seem to really care. The jacket's a little tight around the collar, but other than that, he seems to not mind to have the booties or the coat on. Huh? You're just happy to be outside. You're just happy to be outside. You're getting yourself all caught up. That does it for today's video. I appreciate you joining. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've liked and subscribed to the channel if you haven't done it previously. And as always, I've included some hilarious outtakes for you. I think they're funny. Hopefully you do too. Until next time, please stay safe and take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. I look like a raccoon. Oh my goodness. Probably in more ways than one. Oh, my makeup is running. So cold my eyes are watering. So, and the sun hitting me in the eyes right now. This cabin, when I built it, was not in great shape. Dick Proennke's lifestyle. Though I didn't build my cabin. I say pretty much because he wasn't necessarily as lone. I say pretty much because he wasn't necessarily as lone. And you don't have to take my word for it. It was... Shut up, squirrel. Over the last week, I was able to get some more dry firewood. Every time I open my mouth, a bird chirps. Over... Beep, 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 goes the bird. You know, coming out here and thinking that I was going to be 100% independent, and there's now a shadow on me. Oh my goodness. And there goes the makeup again.